The bliss of Brahman is innate. It's the very nature, the very being of the self. Happy is it to know oneself. It's to abide as happiness itself. Similarly, happy is it to practice, to inquire. One who happily inquires finds his whole nature to be just bliss, the perfect fullness, without beginning and without end. The only thing that seems to obscure happiness, to place a veil over it, is imagination. It takes the form of ignorance, manifesting as misidentification, or in an outward turn way, even more so, attachment. All the while, even when one seems to be in a state of reduced happiness or suffering, the happiness is still existing as one's very being, as one's very consciousness. What is to be done in order to abide in and as the bliss? Ribhu says that we should reject Nama and Rupa and accept only Satchidananda as real, as the self. That is, we should abandon misidentification with, or attachment to, anything that has name and form, anything conceivable or perceivable, anything thought of, anything embodied, anything that's a product of the senses or is objective, and so forth and so on. And we should accept only Satchidananda, being, consciousness, bliss, which is one and the same thing, as the self, as what is real. This is easily accomplished by simply inquiring, as the Maharshi has instructed, profoundly, to know one's real nature. Who am I? Consider what it means to practice intensely. Tapas. It can conjure up the idea of austerity, but it should for us signify intensity, fieriness of practice that joyfully burns up the delusive belief in limitation, the attachments and misidentifications, the false connection with the world, the body, the mind, and so forth. So keep in mind, and do not lose track of the happiness of your own nature. And understand that the entirety of your spirituality, which thus becomes the entirety of your life, to be permeated by the same happiness. One should inquire intensely, but not necessarily seriously. Intensely, with clarity. Joyfully finding within that which is bliss itself. If you trace the source of happiness to within, within signifies the self, and thereupon set about inquiring, who am I? To know the self, so that the self knows itself by its own light. There is no second, no other kind of self involved. If you proceed in this way, happiness shines. And you do not find yourself arguing within yourself, within your own mind, but rather clearly discerning the self-evident truth. There is then no difficulty. And as Sri Ramana has said in verse, self-realization is an easy thing, the easiest thing there is. Because of its naturalness, because of the absence of duality, because of its happiness, because it is that in which knowledge and being are one and the same thing. Brahman is bliss, Brahman is being, Brahman is consciousness. That being, consciousness, bliss is indeed what you are. This should be known in itself, for itself, by itself. Inquiring the individual who is the source of delusion, the starting point of delusion, does not actually engage in the inquiry. The light of inquiry, the light of knowledge, shines from your own self. The self alone can know itself. Brahman alone comprehends Brahman. The illusion of another, which was only for that other, vanishes because it is unreal. And this is a very happy thing. Know yourself, and thus abide in perpetual, silent bliss. As Sri Ramana has said in Who Am I? Silence is that in which no I appears, no I rises. That is, in which there is no ego or individuality. The very seed of non-bliss is absent. Know yourself. And if in the course of inquiring to attain such knowledge, you have a question, you may happily ask it. Or if you wish to relate your own experience, please feel free to do so.
Intensity of the practice that you talk, it's more the continuity of the practice. That's what I find, because I find that it comes in spurts. It doesn't last forever. So when I inquire about the reality of what I perceive or think, at that time I feel that, okay, this is not real. But then I get so caught up in it the next minute. And then again, I inquire. And then I realize that, yes, I kind of spend so much time without that awareness. It's kind of like the other day I was thinking about, being drowned. Feeling like I'm being drowned. in this that is not real. And I need to, realize that this is not it. But then it only comes with that inquiry. And then again, so it's that intensity or the fieriness that you're talking about. But it does come in spurts.
Yes, clarity comes with inquiry, because the essence or substance of inquiry is the light of knowledge. In practice, it manifests as inquiry. In the end, it's pure consciousness. It's actually one and the same thing. It appears as if distinct in practice, but it is not really so. One thing. Your existence is perpetual. Bliss is the same as existence, as was just being described, so it also is without interruption, is perpetual. It is in your very nature to abide in the bliss of your own being. It is not in your nature to pretend to be something else. As soon as you pretend to be something else, you are right then and there, searching for the happiness of your own nature. So then, how can practice become continuous? If we grasp this searching for happiness, which is going on all the time, even when you're drowning in the ocean of illusion, you're looking for something in such drowning. That samsara, or that maya, is not external to you. It is dreamed up in your own mind. You're looking for something. You're actually looking for yourself. It manifests as looking to know what is real. And most obviously, as looking or searching, rather, for happiness. If only one understands well all the happiness you've always been seeking, in every kind of experience in that ocean in which you drown, the happiness you've been seeking every single time is actually within, and shines clearly and fully whenever you inquire and rest in your own nature. If just that point is understood well, then practice becomes continuous. In addition, I mentioned practice of inquiry is of this knowledge essence. It is not mere thinking about it. When we contemplate, that's thinking. And contemplation is bound to be sporadic. It may be longer, it might be shorter, but it will be sporadic. Likewise, meditation, if meditation is still at the level of thought. But once meditation is off the mental level, it shifts of attention necessarily for sensory living, etc., doesn't represent an interruption. The inquiry to know yourself is, in truth, entirely off the mental level, right from the start. It involves the knowledge that's innate to the self, the light of your own consciousness, and it is propelled by this desire for happiness, which when turned inward is known as the desire for realization or the desire for liberation. So you can practice this inquiry continuously. The so-called interruptions are only due to misidentification. To have the intensity, to have that ardent practice that does not relent but keeps going and going, just see where your happiness is. You'll be drawn to it, like the proverbial iron filings to the magnet. When you know where bliss is, you're drawn to it. It's in your very nature. And practice then no longer feels like a discipline, but rather what you most want to do. You just can't let it go.
it makes sense that it is not of the level of thought, because then obviously it will be sporadic. It has to get very deep.
Yes. It is obvious that you are not a thought. Thoughts come and go, you don't come and go. Thoughts are multiple, you're not multiple. They are the known, you are the knower. How would it be possible to know the self through the non-self? It is not possible. Self-knowledge, that is the thing that is wanted, not thought knowledge.
In fact, when I find that the inquiry is deep, I find that the thought is at more a standstill. It's kind of very different.
The cause for delusive notions, then, is no longer appearing. But for one who is inquiring, whether the thought moves or comes to a standstill will make no difference. She'll realize her own nature is pure consciousness, and standing as that, will see that thought is actually non-existent. It was like speaking of the movements of the waters of a mirage.
At those times also I find that past and future kind of doesn't exist. It's just, it just is in that kind of way.
Dive deep into the nature of that is, and you will find not only does past and future not exist, but also the present. What exists is timeless. This is why all the rishis of old spoke not so much of a present moment, but the existence which is eternal. Make your vision non-objective. Pour your inquiry into the very nature of your existence. And this will be self-evident.
I'm wondering what is the relation between thoughts and the things that we pursue through senses. Like when I'm looking at a tree and the actual thoughts that I have, is there a relation? Because in Maharshi's book, he says you have to perceive the world as non-real, only then you realize the self.
Exactly so. The unreal, which is the world, from subtlest thought to the gross form, is unreal, and the self alone is real. The self alone exists, the world not at all. Consider your dream. In a dream state, you're endowed with thoughts as the dream character that seem to be interior, and there are also dream perceptions. You see trees and buildings and things like that in your dream. They seem as if real, solid, perceived through your dream senses. And everyone in your dream would agree to that. When you wake up, from the vantage point of the waking state, you can clearly see that the outside and the inside were both made up of the same mind stuff, the same thought. It was just various permutations of thought. And none of it was real, neither the interior thoughts of the dream character, nor his so-called outer perceptions. His outer perceptions were not really outer perceptions at all. They were all in the mind. Likewise, the character and his inner thoughts. It was all dreamed up by the mind. To see the reality of the self, to realize it conclusively, you have to leave that dream of the mind behind. It is very similar with this waking state.
So in that case, they're basically different attributes of the same mind, because I can feel that the thought is different, or for example, I can see the difference between the sound and the light. The way I perceive the sound and the light are different.
Yes, different varieties or permutations of the same thought.
So is it same thought or from the same mind?
What else is the mind but thought? If we remove thought from your mind, what is left of the mind?
So at this moment I'm not thinking, but I can still perceive the tree.
That is another kind of thought, just like in a dream. Thought can come and go. It appears and disappears. Moment by moment, mode by mode, state by state. Likewise for those thoughts regarded as sensory perceptions. They are not always present. But you always exist. This existence must be, therefore, something that's not of a thought nature and not of the nature of perception. Neither the senses, nor a sensed object, nor a sensing entity can be your nature. Likewise with thinking and the thinker.
So to shut down all the senses, so basically I have to sleep when I'm awake, right? That's what I read somewhere.
Yes, like waking deep sleep.
But
You
then
need-
what's holding me from doing that?
What makes you say something is holding you from doing it?
Well, I'm still there is no understanding of the real, right? So
To understand.
theoretically I know that these are the problems, but
Yes, but something is not theoretical, and that is your existence. You are. The fact is you are, and it's undoubtable. And you know that you are. And you do not rely on your senses or your thinking or your intellect to know that you are. This are, or existence, cannot be anything conceived or perceived. Not a thought, not senses, not anything objective whatsoever. Start with this very existence, this forever non-objective existence, and cease to define it in terms of the perceived and the conceived, in terms of the senses of the mind. See what remains. There is no obstruction to this knowledge and truth. There is no obstruction to your existence. Nothing impedes your existence at all.
so what's happening when I close my eyes? Is it that the thought of the tree or the person that I'm seeing, that thought is closing?
The seen, the unseen, the opening and the closing of the eyes, all of this is just in the mind. You are the one without eyes. And you are the one that lights up everything that is seen. You are the one without seeing, and yet all seeing is only because of you. You are the one without thinking, and yet a thought shines only in your light. None of these things declare their own reality. They seem real, or as if experienced, to you. Who is this you? Trace that you to the essential existence. It has no boundary. It is entirely formless. It is unborn. It is indestructible. It is everywhere, yet spaceless. It is at all times, yet timeless. For that there is nothing else whatsoever. If you abandon the objective outlook, the idea of multiplicity or duality will fade away. And the solitary, undivided existence, which is your own self, will remain just as it is.
So the key thing you said is it fades away, right? So why is it fading away? Why is there no realization right now?
Because of the belief that the unreal is real, and consequently the doubt that the real is unreal. But the truth is, the real always is real, and the unreal has nothing to it whatsoever. If it seems to be existing for you, the multiplicity, the duality, find out, as the Maharshi advises, for whom is this appearance? When he says for whom, it means return the whole sense of identity and reality to their source. Make your vision non-objective. There is no such thing as it or this. The this aspect of your experience, from subtlest thought down to the gross object. But the this aspect of your experience depends entirely on the I. The object is just another guise for the subject. The this is only I. It appears to I, by the I, and is only the I. So inquire into the very nature of the I. If you do so, its individuality, being unreal, vanishes. The real existence remains, knowing itself. If it is still there, for whom is it? Who am I? Like this.
When I focus on my existence, what I use to do that is the existence itself. So that it's the shortest trip that one can take. And the idea is that I would go seek happiness are eliminated because the one who would be seeking is not the existence. When I then ask the question, who am I? It just swallows everything up. The notion of individuality, it's just not in that at all. It's just, and bliss is not pursued as an experience then. It's all one and the same. It would be hard to even describe it as an experience because I'd almost have to kind of assume some identity to step back and look at the bliss or feel the bliss. And it's just the fastest peace. There's no if I were to ask myself, well, how could that piece be broken? I would have to imagine it. It's the only way. It just can't. I can't perturb it any more than I can stop existing. It just, there's no, it just doesn't work that way. And all the ways that you described things in your discourse, when I inquire deeply and just individuality is absorbed, all those things that one might listen to as something that one could attain, or something that is a really good idea, or it would be great if it was only that. Those descriptions are literal descriptions. They're very precise, not like in an edgy precise or hard, not like that. They're just descriptions of one's existence. They're just descriptions of the reality itself.
Likewise, all the scriptures. All of them are wondrously precise and eloquent descriptions of the ineffable. The precision lies in the interior experiential knowledge. Not so much in the words per se, about which so many often quibble. This word is right, that word is right. But the significance, the meaning, has a precision that belongs only to reality.
When I read scripture and truly read it, it has no quality of it being about something. It's, as you said, it's a precise, eloquent description that really wasn't spoken by some individual. It's really spoken by the existence that we're. And you've also said that the precision comes from that there's no other way. There isn't an alternative way for which it can be known. So the scriptures are, even though there's words, they're not, as you said, the meaning, the profound, it's kind of like a reflection that doesn't have two parts to it. It's not like somebody speaking to somebody else. It's like you speaking to yourself, and there isn't anybody else.
So you speak to yourself, God speaks to God. Of course, God has a clear view of who God is. Then the entire scriptural texts become one resounding silence.
आसीनो दूरं व्रजति शयानो याति सर्वतः कस्तं मदामदं देवं मदन्यो ज्ञातुमर्हति.
While sitting, it travels far away. While sleeping, it goes everywhere. Who but I can know that deity who is both joyful and joyless?
अशरीरगं शरीरेषु अनवस्थेष्वस्थितं महान्तं विभुमात्मानं मत्वा धीरो न शोचति.
Having meditated on the self as bodiless in the midst of bodies, as permanent in the midst of impermanent, and as great and pervasive, the wise man does not grieve.
नायमात्मा प्रवचनेन लभ्यो न मेधया न बहुना श्रुतेन यमेवैष वृणुते तेन लभ्यः तस्येष आत्मा विवृणुते तनूकं स्वाम्.
This self cannot be known through much study, nor through the intellect, nor through much hearing. It can be known through the self alone that the aspirant prays to. This self of that seeker reveals its true nature.
इन्द्रियेभ्यः परा ह्यर्था अर्थेभ्यश्च परं मनः मनसस्तु परा बुद्धिः बुद्धेरात्मा महान् परः.
The sense objects are higher than the senses, and the mind is higher than the sense objects. But the intellect is higher than the mind, and the great soul is higher than that intellect.
महतः परमव्यक्त अव्यक्तात् पुरुषः परः पुरुषान्न परं किञ्चित् सा काष्ठा सा परा गतिः.
The unmanifested is higher than Mahat. Purusha is higher than the unmanifested. There is nothing higher than Purusha. He is the culmination, he is the highest goal.
एष सर्वेषु भूतेषु गूढो आत्मा न प्रकाशते दृश्यते त्वग्रया बुद्ध्या सूक्ष्मया सूक्ष्मदर्शिभिः.
He is hidden in all beings, and hence he does not appear as the self of all. But by the seers of subtle things, he is seen through a pointed and fine intellect.
यच्छेत् वाङ्मनसि प्राज्ञः तद्यच्छेत् ज्ञान आत्मनि ज्ञानमात्मनि महति नियच्छेत् तद्यच्छेत् शान्त आत्मनि.
The discriminating man should merge the organ of speech into the mind. He should merge that mind into the intelligent self. He should merge the intelligent self into the great soul. He should merge the great soul into the peaceful self.
उत्तिष्ठदा जाग्रता प्राप्य वरान् निबोधता क्षुरस्य धारा निशिता दुरत्यया दुर्गं पदस्तत्कवयो वदन्ति.
Arise, awake, and learn by approaching the excellent ones. The wise ones describe that path to be as impassable as a razor's edge, which when sharpened is difficult to tread on.
अशब्दमस्पर्शमरूपमव्ययं तधारसं नित्यमगन्धवच्च यत् अनाद्यनन्तं महतः परं ध्रुवं निच्चाय तन्मृत्युमुखात् प्रमुच्यते.
One becomes freed from the jaws of death by knowing that which is soundless, touchless, colorless, undiminishing and also tasteless, eternal, odorless, without beginning and without end, distinct from Mahat and ever constant.
नचिकेतं मुपाख्यानं मृत्युप्रोक्तं सनातनं उक्त्वा श्रुत्वा च मेधावी ब्रह्मलोके महीयते.
Relating and hearing this eternal anecdote as received by Nachiketa and as told by death, the intelligent man becomes glorified in the region that is Brahman.